What if I told you that one piece of paper, one signature, one deal worth millions didn't just change a family's fortune, but tore it apart from the inside out? That behind the idyllic farm vistas, the pumpkin season smiles, and the reality TV fame, a war was brewing. A cold, calculated, heartbreaking war over dirt, legacy, and money. This is not just a story about a family farm. This is a forensic look at the fracture. This is about the deal that became the point of no return. Welcome inside the farm war. Strap in. Because today, we're dissecting the moment Matt Roloff's $3.2 million deal didn't secure the future, but instead, destroyed the Roloff family forever. To understand the magnitude of the explosion, you have to first understand the powder keg. Roloff Farms in Hillsboro, Oregon, wasn't just a business. It was a character in its own right. A 100-acre stage where the dramas of the Roloff family, Matt, Amy, and their 4 children, twins Jeremy and Zach, daughter Molly, and son Jacob, played out for the world on Little People, Big World. For over a decade, America watched. We saw the pumpkin launches, the farm projects, the marital tension between Matt and Amy, and, ultimately, their divorce in 2016. But through it all, the farm remained the constant. It was the family jewel, Matt's life work. And he had a very specific vision for it, a legacy. Not just a sentimental one, but a physical, operational one. He wanted one or more of his children to take it over. The narrative was set. The expectation was broadcast. Roloff kids would step up. Who would become the steward of this iconic piece of land? For years, the spotlight seemed to hover over the twins. Jeremy, the handy, visionary eldest, often aligned with his father's big ideas. And Zach, who, despite a more complicated relationship with Matt, showed deep love for the farm and its seasonal magic. The audience speculated. The family negotiated. The cameras rolled. Then, in 2020, a public test balloon. Matt offered Zach and Jeremy a formal proposal to buy a portion of the farm. Not a gift. A business deal. The details were fuzzy on screen, but the outcome was crystal clear. It fell apart. Reasons swirled, financial terms, control, the involvement of spouses, particularly Zach's wife Tori. The deal collapsed. And with it, a visible rift between Matt and Zach deepened into what seemed like a canyon. Zach and Tori, feeling rejected and disillusioned, made a life-altering decision. They packed up and moved to Washington State, putting literal distance between themselves and the farm and Matt. The message was stark. If the farm wasn't their future, they would build their own elsewhere. This left Matt at a crossroads. His dream of a family succession was crumbling. The farm, now primarily a tourist attraction and his personal residence, was a massive asset. And Matt Roloff, love him or question him, is a businessman. A wheeler and dealer. A visionary with a relentless drive to build and, when necessary, to cut his losses. Enter 2022. The property, a sprawling complex with the famous main house, the big house, barns, event spaces, and prized parcels, was officially listed. The asking price? A cool $4 million. The family drama was now real estate drama. Fans held their breath. Would an outsider buy the heart of Roloff Farms? And then, silence. The property didn't sell immediately. The market shifted. Offers came and went. And during this period, a critical and perhaps final gambit was played out behind the scenes. According to Zach, in a now famous and emotional podcast revelation, a new opportunity was presented. Matt offered Zach and Tori a specific parcel, the very piece of land with the big house they loved. A chance, it seemed, to still be part of the farm's fabric. But again, according to Zach, the terms were prohibitive. The price was high, the timeline was tight, and the feeling, as Zach described it, was of a take-it-or-leave-it ultimatum, not a family negotiation. They left it. That door, in Zach's mind, was slammed shut. This is the essential context. The bruised egos, the failed private deals, the public listing, the move to Washington. All of this is the fuse. Now, we arrive at the match. In the spring of 2023, news broke. The farm had a buyer. But not just any buyer. Matt Roloff himself had sold a portion of the property. Not the entire 100 acres, but a crucial, central 16-acre segment. This segment included the commercial heart of the operation, the iconic red barn, the event areas, the pumpkin season infrastructure, the family homes, the soul of what viewers recognized as Roloff Farms. The price? $3.2 million. The buyer, Brandon and Michelle Ruff. Who are they? Not family. Not even old friends. They were neighbors. A younger couple with farming experience, but ultimately outsiders. Let's freeze this moment. $3.2 million. For the Roloff family, this number isn't just a sale price. It is a symbol. The ultimate quantification of the dream's end. For Matt, this number likely represented multiple things: a fair market deal, a relief from the burden of a massive property, a validation of his life's work's monetary value, and a practical solution. He could retain some land for himself, cash out on the commercial part, and see the farm's legacy continue in some form, even if not with his name. A business-savvy move? On paper, arguably, yes. But for Zach, for Jeremy, and for the emotional core of the family story, this number meant something else entirely. It was the price tag on their inheritance. The monetary value placed on their childhood, their labor on the show, and their perceived birthright. $3.2 million was the proof that their father chose a clean business transaction with strangers over a fraught, messy, but potentially reconciling deal with his own sons. Zach's reaction was one of public, profound grief. In social media posts and interviews, he didn't hold back. He spoke of betrayal. He stated that his kids would now drive by and look at it rather than inherit it. He framed the sale as the final act that severed his already strained relationship with Matt. The word forever started appearing. This deal, he implied, caused damage that could not be undone. Jeremy's reaction was quieter but no less definitive. He spoke about the sadness of the situation, the end of an era, and his own decision to move on and build his own legacy elsewhere. The farm was now in the past tense. Amy's position was complex. As co-owner of the property post-divorce, she benefited financially from the sale. While she expressed sadness about the family fracture, her primary emotional tie to the physical farm seemed less intense than the children's. Her war with Matt was different and already settled by divorce. This new war was between father and sons. We see today. Family gatherings are fragmented. Grandchildren's relationships with their grandfather are strained, filtered through the tension between their parents. Major life events are shadowed by the unspoken rift. The Roloff Farms brand is now split, a business run by new owners, and a family name associated with a painful, public schism. This is where the documentary of their lives took its darkest turn. It's no longer about little people facing a big world. It's about a family that built an empire on its togetherness, only to see that empire become the very thing that shattered them. And the haunting question remains, was the $3.2 million worth it? For Matt, financially and perhaps for his peace of mind, maybe. But at what cost? The cost appears to be his relationship with two of his sons and the unified legacy he always claimed to want. But this story doesn't have a clean ending. Because this is real life and real wounds fester, evolve, and sometimes, against all odds, slowly heal. Or do they? Let's pull the camera back even further. Let's consider the long game. Because the fallout from the farm war is still radioactive, and its particles are settling in unpredictable ways. Zach and Tori in Washington are building their own version of a homestead. Their narrative is one of self-made independence, free from the shadow of the farm and the complications of Matt's influence. Every post about their new land, their new projects, is a silent rebuttal to the past. It screams, "We don't need the farm to be happy." But the very frequency with which they address the topic tells another story, that the ghost of Roloff Farms is a constant presence they are trying to exorcise. Jeremy and Audrey, meanwhile, have plunged even deeper into a world of their own brand creation, spirituality, and conservative family values. Their departure from the farm narrative seems more complete, almost philosophical. They've consciously uncoupled, focusing on their beating 50% mantra and their own family empire. The farm sale seems to have been a final release for them, a confirmation that their path was always meant to be separate. And Matt? He's still there. On his remaining portion of the land, in his new house, the DW. He posts pictures of sunsets over his fields. He talks about new, smaller projects. He engages with fans who still visit during pumpkin season, now hosted by the Roloffs on the land he sold. There's a surreal quality to it. He is both a neighbor and the original creator. A king in exile, watching from a smaller castle next door. But the most fascinating character in this next chapter might be the farm itself under its new stewardship. Brandon and Michelle Routh are not villains. By all accounts, they are respectful, hardworking, and love the land. They've kept the name Roloff Farms for the business, a pragmatic but emotionally loaded decision. They're caretakers of a history they weren't part of. Every interview they give is delicately balanced, expressing their love for the property while navigating the minefield of its past. They are, unintentionally, the living reminder of the fracture, yet they're also the only ones trying to purely look forward. This creates a bizarre new normal. Could there ever be a Roloff family gathering on the farm for a pumpkin season photo? With the new owners present? The awkwardness is palpable just to imagine. The physical space that was meant to unite them is now a monument to their division, operated by friendly strangers. This leads us to the deeper, more psychological fallout. Reality TV families are built on a paradox. They sell their togetherness for entertainment. But what happens when the togetherness disintegrates? Can the show go on? Little People, Big World continues, but it's a different show. It's now a show about separate lives. The through line of the farm is gone. The narrative is now one of aftermath and scattered episodes. The central conflict that fueled it for years has reached its climax, and the denouement is being lived out in real time, with perhaps less viewer interest. The very engine of their fame and income was the family farm dynamic. With that gone, what sustains the story? Furthermore, the financial implications ripple outward. The $3.2 million wasn't just a number in a vacuum. It reshaped family wealth. Amy received a significant payout, solidifying her financial independence. Matt has his share. The children did not inherit the appreciating asset, but they may have received other forms of support. This redistribution of wealth permanently altered the family's economic power structure, adding another layer of potential resentment or relief. And what of the future generations? Zach's sons, Jackson and Lila, will grow up knowing Roloff Farms as a place their grandfather used to own, a place they visit as tourists. Their emotional connection will be tales told by their father, likely tinged with sadness and betrayal. The legacy Matt wanted to preserve has morphed into a legacy of a famous dispute, a case study in how not to handle family business. Now, we circle back to our central thesis. Did the $3.2 million deal destroy the Roloff family forever? The evidence suggests it was the catalytic event that crystallized a destruction already in progress. It was the point where private disappointments became public, permanent facts. It turned simmering conflict into cold silence. But forever is a word used in the heat of hurt. Time has a way of sanding down even the sharpest edges of betrayal. As Matt ages, as grandchildren grow, as the immediacy of the business deal fades, will new spaces for connection emerge? Or will the distance, both geographical and emotional, become the permanent state? The Roloff story is now a modern cautionary tale. It's about the American dream of building something only to see it become a wedge. It's about the clash between patriarchal vision and adult children's autonomy. It's about the poison that can seep in when business and family are irrevocably intertwined and then put on display for profit. As we leave this chapter of the farm war, the fields of Roloff Farms still yield pumpkins. The big house still stands. The camera crews may still film. But the soul of the place, the dream of a multi-generational Roloff dynasty living and working there, is gone. It was sold for $3.2 million. And the silence that has replaced the war is perhaps the loudest sound of all. But wait. In stories like these, there's always a twist. A new development. A letter unsent, a confession unmade, a health scare, a birth, A crisis that forces a reevaluation. The human heart is not a balance sheet, and family bonds, though strained to near breaking, can have a mysterious tensile strength. Could there be a secret clause in that deal we don't know about? A first right of refusal for the children if the Rouths ever sell? Could the very public nature of this pain, now that the Band-Aid is ripped off, create a rock bottom from which some form of limited, careful relationship might slowly be rebuilt, not as business partners, but simply as father and sons? Matt is a planner, a strategist. Did he truly burn every bridge with no thought for the future? Or is there a part of him that believes this severance was a necessary surgery for the family to finally grow independently, and that in that independence, a healthier connection might one day be possible? Zach is a father himself. As his boys grow and ask harder questions about their grandfather, will his narrative soften? Will the need for his children to have a grandfather outweigh the need to nurse the wound of the farm? These are the unanswered questions that hang in the Oregon air, mixed with the smell of hay and pumpkin spice. The $3.2 million deal is done. The property lines are drawn. The legal documents are filed. But the emotional story is an open ledger. And the next entry could be written by something as simple as a grandchild's birthday party invitation, or as complex as a market downturn that forces the new owners to reconsider. The Roloffs have lived their lives in chapters, each season a new episode. We've just watched the most dramatic season finale imaginable. But in the world of reality, there's always another season. The sets have changed. The cast dynamics are irrevocably altered. But the show, their real lives, goes on. The true legacy of Matt Roloff may not be the farm he sold, but whether the family name can survive the sale. The war for the land is over. But the quiet, enduring war for the family's soul, that battle continues. And as the sun sets over what was once a unified kingdom, we are left to watch and to wonder, what happens after the forever war? When the fighting stops, what remains? Is it just empty fields and memories? Or is there, buried deep beneath the $3.2 million worth of dirt, a seed of something new? Something not defined by acreage or barns or pumpkin launches, but by the hard, painful, slow work of reconciliation that happens off camera, in the silent spaces where no clickbait headlines can go. And so we wait. We watch. The landscape has been forever altered. But as any good historian knows, the moment after the cataclysm is just as critical as the cataclysm itself. The dust from the farm war has begun to settle, revealing not just the scars, but the new, uncertain topography of the Roloff family. To truly understand where this story goes next, we must become psychological archaeologists. We must sift through the public statements, the social media breadcrumbs, the carefully framed scenes on television, and read the silence